Welcome to Power Up Your Practice, the go-to podcast for law firm owners and managing attorneys working on the business, not in it. I'm Ruby Powers, your guide into the heart of law practice management, bringing you insights from leading legal minds, trailblazing attorneys, and expert guests who provide you with an actionable perspective on running your firm more effectively and efficiently. Prepare to open your mind, be inspired, and power up your practice to the next level. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, your companion through this ever-evolving landscape of the practice of law. In each episode, we're going to get to hear our guests' superpowers and their perspectives on reaching success. You know, this intro is really catchy. I started to catch myself sort of dancing to it. But today we have John Meredith, and a really awesome person. We met several years ago through the Houston Bar Association Law Practice Management section, and we both have been chairs or presidents. I forgot whatever our title has been, but you've been a great, person to know. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Chamberlain Hurdlicka, a law firm with offices in Atlanta, Houston, Philadelphia, and San Antonio, and I just happened to get to bump into him in Houston. He has an MBA from Georgia Tech, focusing on marketing and management. He's a co-founder of the award-winning Aspiring Youth After-School Programs for At-Risk Youth as a volunteer project. And to get training in nonprofit management, he earned a master in public administration. He's served as president and general counsel until 2005 and currently volunteers as chairman with the foundation. And in 2017, he joined Chamberlain Hurdlicka as the chief operating officer. And so, John, I'm so excited to have you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, Ruby. I enjoy spending time with you, and it's great to get to talk on your podcast.
Yeah. And, I've had you speak to my law class a few times, and every time you change it up and I learn something new about you. And a lot of us law firm owners or managing attorneys, we love to have a COO as amazing as you one day, but we're just too small. So in many cases, and, so just to learn of from all of your experience, how we can sort of aspire to that one day. So hopefully we'll talk a lot about culture and communication, team building, and just sort of some of the things that you've gone through with the firm that you're at, and just, all cumulatively with your career. How do you think it's that one could, what are ways to impact and improve a law firm's culture?
Yeah, culture is really important. I've worked at 4 different law firms, and the second law firm that I worked with, Greenberg Traurig, they preach culture all the time. It's a 2,000 plus person firm, but they talk about their culture. And so it got me really clear on the importance of culture. So when I've gone to a couple of firms that aren't as large as that, I've brought those principles to the firms. And so at Chamberlain Hurdlicka, where I am, our culture is one of excellence and collaboration. And we started working on that culture early on, where if you have excellence in what you do, then clients will want to come to you. They'll give you referrals. They'll want to come back. And the collaboration is the reason you join together, right? And you work as a team, because it allows you to really develop and even go further than you could otherwise. There's a great phrase: if you go by yourself, you go faster. If you go with others, you go farther. And that's what the collaboration can do. And so it doesn't mean even that you have to be with others in a firm. You could do what you're doing here, right? You're collaborating with me, even though we're not in the same firm. And so I think that culture really is important as you develop a firm so that people know what a firm is about.
Yeah, I was really guilty the beginning of my firm, it's 14 years old now, of just thinking culture was like cake and tacos. Like, as long as I had cake at birthday time and tacos on Tuesday occasionally, otherwise we're going to gain a lot of weight here. But that I'm good, But then it was a rude awakening when I realized there's way more to that. And you really have to have a pulse on directing the culture, keeping it in line, and just like ideally have someone in charge of it, because otherwise it just sort of goes loosey goosey, goes anywhere, sort of like a Ouija board. You don't know where the hell's going, and you just have to keep control over where you want, and it goes a lot in line with your vision and mission and what your objectives are. So you have this interesting story you were sharing with our law students not too long ago about this recent build out. So I mean, change is hard. There's things like ADCAR, and there's like, really we should be looking about change as an opportunity. But so you recently went through a change with your firm. Describe your recent build out where you moved from sheetrock walls to clear glass walls, and how did that work?
So as you mentioned early on, we have several offices, and one of our offices is in Atlanta. And about a year ago, we built it out, and we put film on the glass from about maybe 3 feet to 6.5 feet, so that if you're walking by, you still have the privacy, but it lets some light in and you're able to see a little bit more. Well, in the Houston build out that we just moved back in November, we're in February, if people are trying to figure out, so say, 3 months, or we're almost in February. And the difference in the Houston office is we went with clear glass. All right, I'm going to violate every norm. I'm sure your person is going to say, don't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to turn around my screen and show you my view.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of clear glass.
That's what I'm looking at. And she's looking at me, probably wondering, what are you doing pointing this at me? But so I'm going to turn around so it doesn't move too fast. So that is the view that we have here. And we, as in almost any decision, you are not totally certain if a decision is going to be well received. And in law firm area, and in just life in general, a majority, of course, is 51%. A large majority, 65%. 3/4 is really hard to do. So if you get 3/4, we have, let's say, 100 attorneys here. That means 75 attorneys like it, but that means 25 are not that happy with it, right? Even though you've got a large majority that want it. And so you say, how do you get that change management? How do you get them to try it? And what our architect Gensler said was, you have to let people live in it. Just say, I hear what you're saying, that it may not be the, what you're thinking is an ideal work situation, which we really care about. And we really want to make it a great place to work. But they said, just live in it and see if it works. And we've been very fortunate that it's a little easier to live in than we thought. And the people who like it even like it more. That doesn't mean everybody likes it. I don't want to, for your audience, thinking, oh, it's 100%. It's not that. But people realize the value in as it relates to clear glass. The value is not for the attorneys that in a sense lost their privacy. It's for the people in the interior. I showed you the assistant who's out there. Mm-hmm. She now gets to look at the same view essentially I do, right? Just through the glass in my office. And so she gets to take advantage of that. We also added 40 interior offices. So all those people otherwise would not be able to look outside unless the door was open, because we used to have wood doors. And now they get to enjoy the outside. And so more and more people get to enjoy that natural light. And they say it helps you be more productive and have a great day.
And so I'm sure you went through a lot about how did you get people on board, the ones who are against it?
Well, I don't want to even imply they're on board, right? I mean, in the sense that they were willing to try it. In the end, part of it was making certain accommodations. One, we figured out that your monitors, I have 2 monitors in front of me right here, block a lot of the view outside. So I'm not completely exposed to the outside, so to speak,
Hmm.
because somebody right now may have an idea that I'm talking if they come around to the side, but they can't see I'm talking right now because my monitors block that. So that was one thing. We also made a number of enhancements throughout the office, including rising desk. As you can possibly see, I'm standing up right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
We
Yeah.
had that as a feature where people could have desks go up and down so that it gave them the ability to uh, hopefully ergonomically enjoy the workplace even more. So we tried to offset that loss because it can be a loss. It can feel like a loss of privacy with ways to fix it, and then tried to make the environment and help them understand the value to those on the inside. And
Yeah.
in the end, you hope they go, well, I'm really glad the person on the inside can see, and it's worth it to me to give up my privacy.
Well, just whether it's about the sheetrock and the clear glass, or it's about change your case management software, it takes a lot to put to go through change and get the buy-in. So I commend you on going through that. So a lot of people have firms that have virtual assistants and hybrid and in person, and I know there's a lot of come in this many days or anchor days or something, and but I mean, how do you, with such a large firm, how do you keep the hybrid employees engaged and sort of making it fair, those who are allowed to work hybrid, or is it equal across is it consistent across the board who's hybrid and who isn't? Because I know there's been a lot of sort of a pendulum swinging back a little bit to coming back to the office.
Yeah, so I think in the legal field we haven't totally resolved what we're doing in that
Hmm.
in that regard. And some firms have. I know there's some firms roughly our size. We throughout all our offices have roughly 175 attorneys. So some firms just say everybody's back in 5 days a week, and there we are. Then uh, it makes it a little easier versus all the questions you had, which is it is it 2 days, 3 days, 4 days? We originally were, of course, working from home. Then we started it with 3 days, and now we're 4 days with an anchor day. So each of our offices have an anchor day. The other three offices are Tuesdays, and ours is Wednesday. So tomorrow will be our anchor day. The part that isn't totally clear and set is what are the consequences if you don't come in on anchor day? At least as an attorney,
Yeah.
staff come in, and we have found that for staff assisting other attorneys and in general their involvement, it does work better if they're in person. That they're able to assist more in person, but we still have 1 day remote, and we're glad we can do that and glad to give that flexibility. But it is something that in the legal field people talk about a good bit. What's the ideal amount of time? Is it 3 days, 4 days, 5 days?
Yeah. And what happened with us recently is I think I was like, okay, we're on hybrid, everybody's on a rotation, but I completely, well, I hope they're not listening to it, but I sort of forgot about the virtual assistants who never come in. And I was like, oh, we need to go back to doing those activities where people are like talking about stuff. So even in today's office meeting, we did this like live directory where we were on Zoom, and those who were in person, but the ones on Zoom, and everyone said, my name is, and I do this, and I'm the office manager or whatever. And we recorded it too. So whoever's missing or when we have new people could see it, but we're trying to go back and make sure we keep the culture, be aware of that, just because we sort of stopped doing some of the fun things we did during the pandemic, which to try to gel the hybrid and the virtual team members together. But no, I think I've seen all these headlines about you have to come back in, but then I talked to some firms who are like, no, we're still virtual, or I'm going to keep building a virtual practice. So I think the jury's still out in the law profession.
It is. And we have been very fortunate in Houston. We won Best Places to Work from the
Oh,
Houston Business Journal. Yeah, 3 years
congratulations.
running.
Wow.
And So we take that real seriously because it's voted on by our employees. They vote on it, and so we want them to feel like they're in a place that they're glad to come to work here, that we're treating them well. And so you balance, their needs, the needs of the people they work with, and hopefully put it all together in a way that works.
So you do something interesting. You have these expectation meetings for new employees, and I think you either meet with every single person that or a group or something like that. But tell us a little bit more about what that is and how you like onboard people.
Yeah, so it's part of our onboarding process. We have learned, and most people realize this intuitively, that when you come into any experience like this podcast, right? There are expectations that come in. What's it going to be like? What are they going to discuss? Well, in the workplace setting, you come in, and if you're a staff member, you go, who is the best boss I've ever had, and what are their characteristics? And the expectation or the hope is that your new boss is as good or better than your previous boss. Well, similarly, the person who's the supervisor boss has an expectation that the person coming in to help them, working as part of the team, they know the best person they ever worked with, and they're sure hoping the new person's as close to that person as they can be. And they may have a realistic understanding that that may not even be possible, but it's that discussion. And so we call them expectation meetings. And you go over things like, what time do you come into work? Well, if say it's a legal administrative assistant and an attorney, well, if the legal administrative assistant was used to for years coming into work at 7 and leaving at 4, but the attorney comes to work at 9 and leaves at 6, they're going to pass. And so when that attorney's working from 4 to 6 on something really important that they want to get out, you need to have that discussion early on. And some of those things you can talk about in the interview process, right? But there are others that aren't fully brought out, where you can talk about, how do you like to exchange information? Do you like to send emails? Do you like to get on the phone? Do you like, are texts out of bounds? No, I don't want anybody texting me at a certain time, or that's just the way I communicate. And sometimes I'm in a meeting and that's all I can do is send a text. People need to understand that. And so the more of those things you get out in these expectations meetings, the better chance the relationship goes optimal.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And we having a list of expectations, the job description, having going over it a couple different ways, talking about things. I think that's so important to having a successful relationship and strengthening the culture. So I mean, part of probably what you look at is making sure you don't have high turnover. I don't know. I'm just like as a COO, and that really hurts a lot of any business, honestly. And I think when I was starting out, I didn't really understand how to keep that from happening. But what are some of the now I have a better grasp on it. But what do you think are some of the factors that we should be considering, or a law firm owner, managing attorney, to try to minimize turnover and to have more longevity?
It's really a great point. So, retention is something that we take really seriously. One thing we do is reward people who have been here at least 10 years. Oh. And maybe we ought to start with 5, but when you've been here 10 years, you get a plaque of some kind, or it's actually a crystal sculpture, really. And it gets bigger and bigger as the years go on. and then it goes every 5 years, so 10, 15. We just had somebody receive a 45-year plaque. And so you recognize it, and then of course you monetarily, reward it also. But the part of it is just having a culture, understanding the importance of staff. We tell all the associates they're the future of the firm. We really want them to be around, to stay around. We want to invest in their future. We want to see them succeed. And so if they really feel that and believe that, then, part of being here versus being maybe at a larger firm is you get more interaction with supervisors, with mentoring. You get the ability to connect with people more. And so all those things hopefully come together. And we were really pleased last year. Our retention skyrocketed last year. And hopefully we're going to continue that. A lot of the things that we did last year, we're going to continue.
Oh, wow. That brings to mind because I'm working on my management chapter of my second book right now about law practice management. And I sort of believe that no one formally learns management. Like even in the MBA, watching my husband get an MBA, I vicariously got one, I think indirectly. But I mean, where did you get your management skills from? And how do you impart that on staff too? Like how do you like institutionalize management growth?
So I'm looking around for the book that we read. So it's, I think in my it's right over there. In fact, that we're in the midst here. I'll grab it.
Okay.
We're in the midst of reading a book as a team, and we want to continually be continuous learners. Mm-hmm. And we as a group go through a chapter each day. Each time we meet every 2 weeks as a staff management team we meet on Teams, and we go over a chapter and we talk about what they learned, what they applied. My background, I was in ROTC in college, so that gives you an understanding of what the military's belief is in management, and that applies in certain things. And then you mentioned I got an MBA, and I focused on management. And then I have taken the local management training here in Houston. The examples are Leadership Houston. It's about a year-long training. You go every month. You spend a full day. I went through American Leadership Forum, which is a year and a half, and you go a week away and do a ropes course and a bunch of stuff that you learn. And then I went through Center for Houston's Future, and then the FBI Citizens Academy. So all those things to try to learn management, but it's something you never fully get. And of course, a lot of it is the training you've seen from people around you, mm-hmm. your supervisors, other things. You modify it to make it work for you. And then everybody has their own way of handling stress or explaining things. And so you put all that together. But we really believe in learning and training. And we just had our annual staff managers meeting, and we talked about purchasing some management training. So we've got the ability to go out for some of our young managers. We want them to be trained in being good managers, and some of them have not been trained. So we are going to purchase that training so that they will feel more comfortable.
That's so awesome. And I was trying to do a little tour to figure out where I put my books. I think I lent it with my management team, but today I was teaching them about Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson. And then I picked up another really good one this weekend. I'm trying to figure out what it was called, but anyway, but I like the book club concept, where you go through the chapters. And I was thinking about that too, like buying a copy for everybody and then walking through
Right. Yeah. That's what we do. We there's some great books out there that one of the ones that we read was The Go Giver. So I recommend that, about the importance of giving and helping others. And it really, you think of the phrase go getter, and that's a good book too if you ever want to read that. But Go Giver really is a mindset. And then they have the Go Giver Leader and some other things that we've read. So there are a number of wonderful books on management. One thing we recommend to our staff is that they get involved in the community or a nonprofit, because you can get leadership managerial training really, without, just by watching other people or implementing management in a setting where there's not as many consequences, right? Worst case scenario, they say you can't give freely, of your time. Okay, so it's not like you're going to get fired typically, but you get to be on a board. You get to see other leaders, how they lead. You get to lead people, and so maybe in a religious setting, at your, you could take a leadership position there, or at a local community service organization, and it really is a great training opportunity.
That's a really, really good idea. The other book I recently read and bought recently was Everyone Deserves a Great Manager, The 6 Critical Practices for Leading a Team. And it's Scott Miller and Todd Davis and Victoria Roos Olson. So I skimmed it last night because I'm finishing up those chapters, and I'm also building up my management team. So I think you pretty much gave me a good tip on that, because I find that, like, first it was be a better manager myself, but then now I'm like incubating managers, because I'm building up the management level, and so it's I just looked up one day and was like, oh, that's what I'm doing. I didn't realize that's what I'm that's part of growing a firm.
One thing we did that we went over at our meeting was we listed our management principles. What are the 9 parts of being a manager at Chamberlain Hurdlicka? And so that was really important, just so that we're all on the same page, because if you don't mention that, then it really is not clear. We also came up with a mission. You want to hear the mission?
I do.
Using best practices in a culture of excellence and collaboration.
Oh, that's great.
Hopefully that catches the essence of what we do, that we really want to make hopefully a difference in the community, and help people feel good about what they're doing, and feel good about coming to work.
Oh, I love how much your firm focuses on that. And I mean, it has to be a priority to be able to maintain, the size of the firm you have, and to be able to, stay organized. I mean, a lot of, people listening are probably just like, how do I get my first or my third or my 10th employee? And like, how do I make sure it doesn't fall apart? But then you start doing that, and then it's like, okay, let's take it up a notch. And that's where I see myself with my firm, 20-ish or so different people, 14 years old, and creating like, there are different levels in the hierarchy or the accountability chart. Well, what's like one thing that you've learned as being COO that, like, it's so critical, like that especially, like, it could be something that small firm owners could benefit from?
I was on a panel at the State Bar of Texas, and with some other attorneys who were at smaller firms. And one idea that one of them had was set aside time each week on your calendar so that you express gratitude. And I really like that. He called it gratitude time. So I put it on my calendar, as something that is really important. So many people make things run and make it run well, that, to give them the recognition and reminder how much they mean, to the organization, to use. It really can be important. I think the second would be just figuring out what it is that people want. What are they trying to achieve? Of course, everybody wants a paycheck, but beyond that, why did they choose Chamberlain Hurdlicka? Why are they here? Or what is it? Because if nothing else, it helps you understand them, and they feel connected to you, and you feel connected to them, and really understand who they are as people.
Yeah, that's a really good idea about the everything you just said. And the gratitude, I heard something recently that when you're grateful, or you write out what you're grateful for, or you have like a gratitude journal or something, like it takes you up to a higher frequency. And then like, that's like one of the ultimate frequencies. And I don't know, I'm still reading all about that stuff, but, that's the higher vibration you have. You attract positive things, sort of like with the whole law of attraction and vibration stuff. But I think that that's brilliant. I think we should create more of a culture of gratitude and just acknowledgement of people's work and great deeds. And like even with my firm, we'll do like a yay, someone got their green card, or yay, someone got a approved asylum. We'll do that at the top of the office meeting. But even just like, wow, you got all those cases out last week, or, oh, you got this case done so fast and, kept a smile on your face, or, all the different, like, you helped us winterize the house during the freeze. True story. But anyway, one of our assistants, he's great. That reminds me of something before we start closing up, what you said, that you send an email every week, sort of giving like a summary.
Yeah. So, I've been doing that really for almost 20 years. So whatever, 20 times 52, I guess that 1,000 times,
Wow.
1,000 weeks in a row, no matter where I am in the world, I will send an email on Friday afternoons, basically talking about the week coming forward. And really it's the whole year practically. So we call it a weekly newsletter. And up at the top, it has our logo. Then it says culture of excellence and collaboration. So the culture part is right there, for people to see. And then it has the calendar list of upcoming items, things that we're doing, will be doing. Then we have all the people who've joined. And then we go from there to congrats. Like, somebody just had a baby, somebody just passed the bar exam. If there are any departures, that would be there. And then we go down and we have different departments report. So HR will tell different things that are going on and benefits for this year. And then we talk about marketing and business development tips. And then we list everybody's birthday and their anniversary with the firm that month. So if somebody has a birthday that month, it shows up on there and reminds everybody so they can congratulate them. And then kind of the retention side, we show how long people have been there on the anniversaries, work anniversaries. And then I put a quote of the week and some other things, in there. And then we talk about cybersecurity or IT tips, different things. And so that goes out every week. It gets updated and hopefully connects everybody. They feel part of the team as part of receiving the newsletter each week.
That's great. When you shared that, it made me think that my office meeting, it's a meeting. It's like your email. And I'm thinking like at some point I'm going to have to make that meeting an email or find a different way to give impart that information. Cause as the team grows, it's a lot of people. But hopefully they're retaining. I don't know do you give them like a quiz or like see who opens it?
I'm always surprised when people read it. So, if there's something wrong in it, you'll find out, the people that read it, they'll let you know. But I usually look at it multiple times before it goes out. But even then, sometimes you miss something.
Oh, I remember one more thing. Okay. You said something to my students, like I can tell your future or something.
Oh, yeah.
What's that story?
Yeah. So when I'm speaking to groups and I'm, virtually speaking to a bunch of people here, I tell them I can see your future. And the way I can see your future is you're going to be like the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's really hard to be different than the people you're around. I mean, Ruby's an example. You're energetic, learning desire as people who are listening to this podcast over and over, all the books you're reading, your willingness to learn. Well, it makes me want to learn, right? I wrote down everybody deserves a great manager. I want to read that. So, before this interaction, I wasn't thinking about that. And so that's the way we are. And so what what they found is if you want to be like somebody else, go hang out with them, figure out the reason they do that. And it's very hard to be different than the people you're around. It's like if you want to do a New Year's resolution to work out all the time, go hang out with people who work out all the time, and they'll just drag you along, and you'll get in that group, and you'll be more and more like them. So that's the seeing the future part.
Well, I love it. And, in a way, with the podcast, like if you surround yourself by listening to some people that you want to be like, or energetic, learning, always solving problems, finding success, however they define it, then in a way you are surrounding yourself by those 5 people. But
that's right. Yeah, for sure.
Well, okay. So there's one question that I want to ask every time. There's 2 questions. One of them is, what's your favorite board game?
Probably it's one I grew up playing called Rook. It's an older game. Not many people know about it, but it's a really fun. It's with cards, and my grandmother, who was born in the 1800s, you're supposed to be like in poker when you have a good hand, you don't tell anybody, right? But when you have the Rook card, it means you're going to win, at least that particular hand. Well, everybody knew she had the Rook card, because when she got it, she would just start laughing over and over again. She just couldn't control herself. She wasn't a good poker player. So I have really good memories of the game Rook.
I'm like Googling it, and it came out in like 1906. It's a trick card game by Hasbro. Huh.
Well, it's fun. It's a fun family game.
Okay, and then the last question, which is about what do you think is your superpower, and maybe how do you think you got it?
Wow. Well, when I was thinking of this question, I thought it was if I could have a superpower, but you switched it on me, which I kind of like that. You're saying if I had a superpower. I like that even better. But let me do the first one, then I'll do the second.
Okay.
I'll do the one if I could have a superpower. What really motivates me is to help people reach their success, become successful. It really motivates me. So if I had a superpower, it would be that I could help people be successful and achieve their level of success. That to me would be a neat superpower. But to the extent I have a superpower, my wife would probably say that I don't need much sleep. So it allows me to get a lot done. I basically wake up, long before she does, and get a lot done because I need to do a lot. And so I don't know if that's a superpower or a super weakness or what it's but it allows me to get a lot done.
Well, I think you can count it as a superpower. And I think you are doing the other superpower you're talking about, because you're helping everyone in your firm and the foundation and everywhere else when you come speak to my students or here on the podcast. So you're accomplishing all of those. And you are an example of those superpowers. And I think to your question, like, is it a weakness about the sleep one? I think that reality, any superpower can be a weakness in sort of in excess. And because I probably have something similar to you where I don't need as much sleep, especially compared to my husband. But it's just like, I've got stuff to do. I've got things. But anyway, no, that's great. So John, we covered a lot about culture, about the importance of different tactics for onboarding, how to build up your management team. I mean, I learned I need to take notes. And I love like the book club type of concept and sort of growing your management team. So I'm really grateful to have you on today. Is there, if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is good. You're welcome to do that. And then I'm at Chamberlain Hurdlicka Law Firm, and I'm on the website and bios. So just send me an email and be happy to help you in any way I can.
Thank you so much, John. Well, Thanks everyone for joining us on this insightful journey today. I know we all learned a lot and we dropped a couple of good book names as well. Your time and engagement means the world to us. So if you've enjoyed this episode and want to continue the conversation, connect with us on the Power Up Your Practice Facebook group and keep powering up. Feeling overwhelmed by admin tasks? You're not alone. Many immigration lawyers are in the same boat. That's where Staffy comes in. Over 90 law firm owners just like you have turned to Staffy for help with legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work. Now, Staffy's mission to help lawyers find balance while growing their firm. With bilingual virtual staff and full HR support, they take the hassle out of a team management and focus on what matters most, your clients and your practice. I've personally benefited from Staffy's support with 7 virtual assistants of my own across various areas of 2 of my businesses, including my law firm. Now, schedule a free initial consultation with Staffy. That's stafi.cc and use the code RUBY. That's RUBY for $500 off. Thank you for tuning in to the Power Up Your Practice Law Practice Management podcast. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. Join us next week for another episode where we'll continue to explore insightful strategies for success. Power Up Your Practice with us. See you next time.